You have tuned into the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Julio. Hey everybody, I'm Sergeant Julio and you've tuned into the BearDown Corner. Let's get you right into this week's action. Thursday night had the Buffalo Bills going into Houston, where the game itself, Houston came right out hot on defense, and they did not look back. They sacked. They're actually my highlight of the game for them. So Houston's offense did just enough to battle and will themselves to a few touchdowns, multiple field goals, to pull out the impressive 23-19 win here. Houston's defense had 8 sacks at critical moments throughout the game and forced 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery as well. James Cook, kind of the highlight for them, I guess, in the loss. 116 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown rushing, so they keep the run game active and alive, but just that defense, they ate the Bills alive and dropped the Bills to 7-4 now. Houston creeped in at 6-5. This was a do or die in a way for Houston, really, who now sit a game back in the wild card. So yeah, they did it again without their starting quarterback, as well as concussion protocol still had CJ Stroud. And yeah, that was the Thursday night results. Sunday morning hosted a variety of games. Starting off, we'll get right into it. Pittsburgh and Chicago. Aaron Rodgers was out this game as he had fractured hand, whatever. Mike Tomlin doesn't expect it to be a long-standing thing, just the 1 game absence. Mason Rudolph replaced him in his spot. Chicago's defense making turnovers early and often in this game. Caleb Williams was 239 yards in the air with 3 touchdowns, 2 of them going to DJ Moore. And honestly, just an overall really good battle that the Chicago Bears were able to pull away with the 31-28 win. In this game, Pittsburgh's defense did get a fumble and a recover in the end zone on the Bears. Otherwise, we had a nice solid, I think it was, 13-point lead. They creeped back, they fought back, they scraped within 3, but we held on at the end to make it our game, our win. I'm ecstatic. We're 8-3. We're leading the division. And with pivotal games coming up against Green Bay and a rematch against Detroit, we already went 1-1 with the Minnesota Vikings this season. So we got Philadelphia next week. All right, that's going to be a test. We got them on Friday after Thanksgiving for all our American friends and everything else. Happy Thanksgiving to you this upcoming week. 3 amazing games on the slot as well for Thanksgiving week. But you know what? We got a lot of great football still ahead. So Pittsburgh really isn't in that bad a position. They're now tied in their division with the Ravens pulling out a 23-10 win over the New York Jets. Derrick Henry having 2 rushing touchdowns and 64 yards rushing and 24 yards receiving on that day. So AFC North is up for grabs, really. Like, even at 3-7 and returning this Thursday as well, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow is expected to play this upcoming week. And if they can pull out a win against Baltimore, well, hell, they're right back in it. The AFC North is up for grabs. And all these teams have a chance. Even Cleveland, if they can rattle off some wins. Like, the season is far from over for any of these teams. Minnesota went into Green Bay where they were trying to get back on track, but to no avail. Emmanuel Wilson with the 107 yards on 20-plus carries over the day, 2 rushing touchdowns. In the air, I don't know. What was it, just bad weather? I honestly didn't really see the whole... I just seen little highlights here and there. It didn't look like it was blizzarding there, but either way, the passing offense is just not looking up to standards that I'm used to seeing for Green Bay. So is Jordan Love your man? We'll find out later on. Green Bay does pick up the win, though, 23-6. Indianapolis goes into Kansas City, where, honestly, I thought it was going to go a little bit different, but Indy's defense did some really awesome things in that game. And even though Kansas City scraped away with the 23-20 win, overtime win, nonetheless, they stopped Jonathan Taylor. That was first and foremost. His defense stood on their head. Rashee Rice, 8 catches, 141. Kareem Hunt, still at the ripe age of 30 plus, 30 attempts, 104, and a touchdown on the ground. They leaned heavy into other portions of their game that they're not maybe known for, but they did it to win. And they're going to start grinding out these wins. Now, right now, they're not looking good, though. 6-5. They are a game and technically 2 games behind Buffalo, because Buffalo has the tiebreaker. So they need some help. And Kansas City is going to do what they do and fight it to the end. That's all they can do. So they walk away with a 23-20 win and keep their playoff hopes alive right now, anyway. New England goes into Cincinnati on Sunday, where Hunter Henry was the leading receiver with 7 catches for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. New England picks up another victory, leading the AFC at 10-2. They're looking really good. Cincinnati had a interception return touchdown, and then New England did the same damn thing. So back and forth game, but they're grinding out the wins, no different than any other team. New York Giants went into Detroit, where it went into overtime, and another 3-touchdown performance by Jamari Gibbs, who went 219 yards on the ground with 11 catches, 45 yards, and 1 touchdown. Receiving, he did it all for the Lions that held on to the 34-27 win in OT. Seattle went into Tennessee, where they walk away with an astounding 30-24 win in a game that gave Sam Darnold his confidence back. He tossed a pair of touchdowns. Now those touchdowns went to JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, but hey, you know what? They're getting it done. And Smith-Njigba also set the franchise record in receiving yards that he broke over DK Metcalf this last weekend as well. He's on pace for possibly 2,000 yards receiving. Before we thought it was Puka Nacua. Now at this point, what's to say this guy can't go all the way? This is some exciting football that they're giving us. Competitive too. But I'm still finding it shocking that teams aren't just handling Tennessee, but Tennessee's being competitive still to the end. Afternoon games involve the Jacksonville Jaguars going into Arizona, where they needed to win to keep their current pace and lead in the AFC wildcard alive. At 7-4, they claw out a overtime victory, 27-24, and force Trevor Lawrence to pass the ball. Now, he did get picked off 3 times in this game, but he also threw 3 touchdowns, and they ran the ball just enough to grind out the win. Cleveland, on the other hand, went into Las Vegas, and they handled business. Their defensive end has 17 sacks on the season now. Myles Garrett now has 17 plus sacks on the season, breaking his former franchise record. And Shedeur Sanders had the start. For his first career start, 11 of 20, 209, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Now, he's been listed as remaining the starter going into this next week, even though Dylan Gabriel's coming out of concussion protocol. But really, when you're able to make the big plays, rush the ball in with Quishon Judkins, who had 2 rushing touchdowns on Sunday, by the way. If you're going to grind out those wins, now, yes, against LA or Las Vegas Raiders, we all know that they're competitive enough on defense. Offensively, they're struggling as hell this year. There's not really much turning around there. They fired the Chip Kelly this week, and Cleveland is just keeping Stefanski's job alive, I guess, unless they start rattling off some wins that you never know. Stay tuned to find out more how the Cleveland Browns finish the season now with Sanders at the helm. Philadelphia traveled into Dallas. This was a good game. So Philly jumped ahead quick to a 21-0 lead. And Dallas, I don't know what they did to turn and flip the script, but they held their own against the Eagles in a very game-defined way that at 5-1, if they can rattle off a win streak, basically, there's no reason this team cannot be competing for a playoff spot, possibly even more if, the Eagles keep faltering. So, you know what? It's going to be a hell of a last half of the season, and Dallas is keeping their hopes alive. George Pickens, 9 catches, 146, and 1 touchdown. 354 pass yards by Dak Prescott. He had a pair of touchdowns. Dallas wins 24-21 on the ending field goal by Brandon Aubrey. Atlanta had Kirk Cousins starting this Sunday, where, you know what? He made his triumphant return, 16-23, 199, 2 touchdowns, and Atlanta gets the win, which we thought they would have more of, but they only got 4 this season. So Sunday Nighter hosted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Los Angeles Rams Stadium, where Matthew Stafford just keeps doing what he does. Tossed a couple of tutties to Devontae Adams, threw for 273 yards and 3 touchdowns, making it look like it's easy as heck. Like, the man's 37, and he's looking like he's just entering a second prime of his career. So we'll wait, we'll see. But right now, LA looks like the real deal. Defensively, offensively, even special teams. They are an all-around tough football team. And you know what? They're number 1 for a reason right now. But again, there's still another half a season left to go. So 9-2, you got to finish strong now. Carolina went into San Fran for the Monday Nighter, where, you know what, 49ers handled business as usual. And defensively, they did very well. Offensively, Christian McCaffrey is the catapult, but also George Kittle had 7 catches for like 89 yards tonight. You had Christian McCaffrey, 89 yards on the ground, 1 rushing touchdown, and 7 catches for 53 yards. And they are doing their thing very well. At 8-4, the San Francisco 49ers are in the last spot in the NFC due to tiebreakers and all that. So that's something I wanted to jump into a little bit, was the current standings and what everyone else is looking at right now, right? But quickly on some news and notes. Baker Mayfield showed no long-term injury after Sunday night's game, where he had a dislocated left shoulder, 2 to 3 weeks, probably expected to be out. Rest it, young man. You gotta lead the Tampa Bay Bucs to their division crown once again. Hopefully, Carolina doesn't make up during this stretch, and Teddy Bridgewater will most likely be getting the starts. The Bengals, Jamar Chase apologized for the spitting on Jalen Ramsey. Honestly, just grow the fuck up. You should have just accepted your suspension like a man, but instead you tried to fight it and they immediately denied it. You should never have spit at the guy. You're better than that. You damn well better be for 45+ mil a year. Like, what the hell are you doing, dude? What are you doing? I get that it's frustrating with the season you've had, but that is no excuse to be spitting on another player. God damn it. So anyway, he came out and apologized this week on it. Justin Tucker, the infamous touchy-doozy massage parlor, gets his tryout with the Saints this week. So maybe a new kicker on the helm for New Orleans. He served his suspension earlier this year. And Joe Burrow, as we reported earlier, is expected to start this Thursday for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, into the standings. As we all know, LA is at 9-2. They lead the NFC above the Philadelphia Eagles, who do have the tiebreaker in hand, but this loss on Sunday dropped them to number 2 at 8-3. Chicago is also 8-3 with Green Bay and Detroit on their heels, so let's just keep it up like that. Tampa Bay 6-5, but they have competition. Carolina is right on their heels at 6-5 as well. So, one loss anywhere, and it's a whole new ball game. Seattle holds the first wildcard spot pretty securely at 8-3 as they hope to turn their fortunes around in the rematch coming up in a few weeks against the LA Rams. So that will be a game to keep on tap. Green Bay sitting at 7-3-1. They hold the 6th seed, and 49ers at 8-4. Well, heck, these teams are just rolling along, grinding out the wins, and there's a bunch of matchups coming up in the upcoming weeks that will determine really where placement for these teams belong. That's really all I can say at this point. You can say strength of schedule, you can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, these teams have won as many games as they have to stay competitive within a conference and their divisions that are so hard right now. And you have Detroit, Carolina, and Cowboys sitting on the outside looking in, but there's no reason that any of those teams couldn't make it either. So right now, the NFC is looking stacked in their own way. And then you dive over to the AFC, New England at 10-2. Drake May is looking like a MVP caliber candidate. Denver's at 9-2. They got a defense. That defense is something else. That's all I'll say on that. They keep them in games. But offensively, they have enough to get it done. Indy at 8-3. You know what? Resurrection of Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor. They've done a great job this year. There's no reason that they can't make a climb back and possibly challenge for first overall. Baltimore, like we mentioned earlier, took the lead in the AFC North with their victory, and Pittsburgh's lost to Chicago on the weekend. Now, that's not to say Pittsburgh ain't out of it, though. In fact, a lot of those teams in that division are not out of it. But you know what? Tied from out the rest from 5th to 7th is Los Angeles, Jacksonville, and Buffalo. Houston, KC, and Pittsburgh all at 6-5, looking on the outside in. The matchups are looking greasy. They're looking good. They're looking exciting. We got a lot of football left. But man, right now, with where things are at, damn, am I excited for the rest of this season. It is shaping up to be a hell of a slobber knocker. And you know what? That's all I'll say to that, as that will be all for today. This is the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Holio. You can catch us every Tuesday at 6 o'clock General Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern, anywhere you get your podcasts, and of course YouTube. Be safe, take care, and we'll catch you next week here on the BearDown Corner.